Jack Miller stood at the edge of his family's property in Montana, feeling the cool morning air on his face. The sun was just coming up over the mountains, turning the sky pink and orange. In his hands, he held two simple metal rods, bent at right angles. These were his grandfather's dowsing rods passed down to him 3 years ago. Jack closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He gripped the short ends of the rods loosely in his fists, letting the long parts point straight ahead. Then he began to walk slowly across the field, his boots making soft sounds in the tall grass. For several minutes, nothing happened. The rod stayed pointing forward as Jack moved. Then, as he passed a particular spot, the rods suddenly swung toward each other, crossing in front of his chest. Jack opened his eyes and smiled. He took a small orange flag from his pocket and stuck it in the ground. "Found you," he said quietly. This was the fourth spot he had marked that morning. According to his dowsing, there was water under all these places. Next week, the drilling company would come to put in a new well for the farm. Jack's father didn't believe in dowsing. He called it nonsense and a waste of time. But Jack's grandfather had been finding water this way for 60 years, and he had taught Jack everything he knew. "The water calls to the rods," Grandpa Ben had told him. "You just need to listen." Jack picked up the small backpack he had left at the edge of the field and took out his notebook. He wrote down the locations of all the flags, then checked his watch. He was going to be late for his online geology class if he didn't hurry. As he jogged back to the house, Jack thought about his future. He was in his last year at Montana State University studying geology. Most of his professors thought dowsing was fake science. They talked about ground-penetrating radar and electrical resistance surveys, modern methods with computers and expensive equipment. Jack understood these methods, he was good at them, but he was also good with the rods, and sometimes they found things the machines missed. Jack reached the house and went inside. He had just enough time to grab a quick shower before his class. As he was drying off, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was from an email address he didn't recognize. galactic.exchangegfed.gov. He opened it, expecting spam. Instead, he found himself staring at an official-looking letter. "Dear Mr. Miller, we are pleased to inform you that your application to the Galactic Federation Exchange Program has been accepted." Jack sat down hard on his bed. He had applied 6 months ago, never expecting to hear back. The Galactic Federation had made contact with Earth only 5 years earlier. They had classified Earth as a death world, a planet with extreme gravity, dangerous weather, and aggressive life forms. To the aliens, humans were fascinating but scary. Stronger and more durable than most galactic species because they had evolved in such harsh conditions. The exchange program was new. Only a handful of humans had been selected so far. Jack had applied on a dare from his roommate. He never thought they would pick him. A farm boy from Montana who believed in dowsing rods. He read further. "You have been assigned to the Orion Institute of Planetary Sciences, where you will study comparative geology under Dr. Valtep for 1 standard galactic year, approximately 14 Earth months. Please prepare for departure within 30 days. A transport will be arranged to bring you to the orbital station." Jack couldn't believe it. Him, going to space, studying with aliens. It seemed impossible. He quickly called his parents, who were visiting his sister in Bozeman. They were shocked, but proud. "I always knew you were meant for big things, Jackie," his mother said, her voice breaking a little. "Just don't tell them about those silly dowsing rods," his father added. "We don't want the aliens thinking all humans believe in magic sticks." Over. The next few weeks, Jack prepared for his journey. The Federation sent him information packets about the Orion Institute. It was a massive space station where thousands of students from hundreds of worlds studied together. The gravity would be set lighter than Earth's. The air would be different. And he would be one of only 12 humans among thousands of aliens. The night before he left, Jack sat on the porch of the farmhouse with his grandfather. "I want you to take these," Grandpa Ben said, handing Jack a small wooden box. Inside were his best dowsing rods made from copper, polished and worn smooth from years of use. "Grandpa, I can't take these," Jack protested. "They're your favorites." "And now they're yours," the old man said firmly. "Those fancy aliens might have all sorts of amazing technology, but I bet they don't have anything like these. Sometimes, the old ways still have value." Jack carefully packed the rods in his bag, along with the few personal items he was allowed to bring. The next morning, a sleek Federation shuttle landed in the field behind his house. A tall, thin being with blue skin and 4 arms stepped out and introduced itself as Liaison Officer Nezril. "Jack Miller?" the alien asked, its voice coming through a small translator device. "Are you prepared for departure?" Jack looked back at his home, at the mountains in the distance, at his family standing nervously by the porch. He took a deep breath. "Yes," he said. "I'm ready." The shuttle was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. The inside looked like flowing water frozen in place with seats that adjusted to fit any body shape. As they rose through the atmosphere, Jack watched Earth get smaller below him. His heart raced with excitement and fear. "First time in space?" Nezril asked, noticing Jack's wide eyes. "Yes," Jack admitted. "First time meeting aliens, too, except for the diplomats on TV. Nezril made a sound that the translator didn't catch, possibly a laugh. "Many find the transition difficult," the alien said. "Earth is considered quite extreme by galactic standards. You humans are unusually durable. Many species find that intimidating." "We're just people," Jack said with a shrug. "Deathworlders," Nezril corrected. "Beings evolved under harsh conditions that would kill most galactic citizens. Your strength, endurance, and resistance to toxins are remarkable. That is why this exchange program is so valuable. There is much we can learn from each other." The shuttle docked with a larger ship in orbit, the Celestial Voyager, which would take Jack and other students to the Orion Institute. As Jack floated through the docking tube in the zero gravity, he patted his bag, feeling the shape of his grandfather's dowsing rods through the fabric. He had no idea that these simple tools would soon challenge the most advanced scientific theories in the galaxy. The journey to the Orion Institute took 3 weeks. Jack spent most of that time learning to adjust to space travel. The artificial gravity on the ship was set lower than Earth's, which made him feel strangely light. At first, he kept bumping his head on the ceiling when he tried to stand up too quickly. The other alien students found this very funny. "Careful, Deathworlder," one of them would call whenever Jack misjudged his strength. It wasn't meant to be cruel, but Jack still felt like an outsider. He shared a cabin with a student named Zexalur, a 6-limbed being from a low-gravity world called Telos. Zexalur had pale green skin that seemed to shimmer in certain lights, and big round eyes that could see in almost total darkness. "Your muscles are so dense," Zexalur said one day, watching Jack do push-ups in the cabin. Even in the lower gravity, Jack was trying to keep up his Earth exercise routine. "On my world, you would be crushed by your own weight." "And on my world, you might float away," Jack replied with a smile. They became friends despite their differences. Zexalur was studying xenobiology and was fascinated by human physiology. Jack taught him Earth card games, and Zexalur showed Jack how to use the ship's food synthesizers to make something that tasted almost like a hamburger. When they finally arrived at the Orion Institute, Jack was overwhelmed. The space station was enormous, shaped like a giant wheel spinning slowly to create gravity. The center hub connected to long spokes that led to the outer ring where most people lived and worked. The walls were a pearly white material that seemed to glow from within. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of different worlds moved through the wide corridors. "Stay close," Zexalur advised as they disembarked. "It is easy to get lost your first time here." A small, hovering robot met them at the docking bay. It projected a holographic map and guided them to the dormitory section. Jack's room was small but comfortable, with a bed that adjusted to his body shape and a window that looked out into space. He could see unfamiliar stars and the edge of a nebula that glowed purple and blue. "Your first class is tomorrow," the robot told him in a pleasant voice. "Comparative planetary geology with Dr. Voltep. Location sent to your personal device." Jack unpacked his few belongings. He carefully placed his grandfather's dowsing rods on the small desk by the window. They looked so simple and primitive compared to the advanced technology all around him. For a moment, he wondered if his father had been right. Maybe he should have left them behind. The next morning, Jack made his way to class. The lecture hall was shaped like a bowl, with seats arranged in a circle around a central platform. About 50 students of various species were already there when Jack arrived. He was the only human. Dr. Valtep entered through a door in the floor of the central platform. She was unlike any being Jack had ever seen, a crystalline creature who seemed to be made of semi-transparent blue-green minerals. She moved by, gliding rather than walking, and her voice resonated from somewhere inside her crystalline body. "Welcome to Comparative Planetary Geology," she said. Her words were translated into each student's native language through small devices they wore in their ears. Today we begin our study of how different planetary conditions create different geological formations. The lecture was fascinating. Dr. Valtep showed three-dimensional holograms of mountains, canyons, and cave systems from dozens of worlds. She explained how gravity, temperature, and atmospheric conditions shaped each one. Earth, she said at one point, bringing up a hologram of the Grand Canyon, is notable for its extreme geological features. The high gravity and active tectonic plates create formations rarely seen elsewhere. Jack felt a small surge of pride. He raised his hand when Dr. Valtep asked for questions. "Yes, human student?" she said, her crystal form shifting slightly, to face him. "I was wondering about underground water detection methods on different planets," Jack said. "On Earth we use various technologies, but some people also use traditional methods like dowsing rods." There was a sound like tinkling bells. From around the room, the alien equivalent of laughter. "Dowsing rods?" Dr. Valtep's translator made her sound amused. "Ah, yes, I have read about this Earth superstition. Metal sticks that supposedly find water through magic?" More laughing sounds filled the room. Jack felt his face grow hot. "It's not magic," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's a traditional technique that's been used for centuries." "Yes," Dr. Valtep agreed, "along with reading animal entrails and dancing to make rain. Every world has its pre-scientific customs, but here we focus on proven detection methods like quantum, resonance scanning, and gravitational field mapping." The other students were all looking at Jack now. He wanted to sink into his seat and disappear. After class, Zexalur found him in the corridor. "You looked uncomfortable in there," his roommate said. "Did Dr. Valtep offend you?" "A little," Jack admitted. "Dowsing is important where I come from. My grandfather taught me how to do it." "What are these dowsing rods?" Zexalur asked. "How do they work?" That evening, Jack showed Zexalur his grandfather's rods. "You hold them like this," he explained, gripping the short ends. "Then you walk, slowly, and when you pass over water, they cross." Zexalur tried to hold the rods with 2 of his 6 limbs, but they kept slipping from his grip. "And this actually works?" he asked skeptically. "It does for me," Jack said. "I've found dozens of water sources back home that even our modern equipment missed, but I can't explain exactly how it works." The next day, Dr. Valtep announced a field exercise. The class would travel to Proxima IV largest moon to practice using various water detection equipment. "The moon has a complex subsurface water system," she explained. "The ice caverns and hidden reservoirs are ideal for testing your skills. We will depart tomorrow. Bring your assigned detection devices." As the other students filed out, Dr. Valtep called Jack to her platform. "Human student," she said, her crystal form reflecting the room's lights in complex patterns. "I sense you were upset by our discussion of dowsing yesterday." "A little," Jack admitted. "Perhaps this field exercise will be educational for you. Bring your dowsing rods. Let us see how they perform against our quantum resonance scanners." Jack wasn't sure if this was meant as a challenge or an opportunity. Either way, he couldn't refuse. "I'll bring them," he said. "Thank you for the chance." As he walked back to his room, Jack felt a mix of excitement and fear. He had never tried dowsing anywhere but Earth. Would it even work on an alien moon? What if the rods didn't respond at all? He would look foolish in front of the entire class. But what if they did work? What if he could find water that the advanced alien technology couldn't detect? That would be something worth seeing. Jack carefully packed his grandfather's rods for the trip, wondering what tomorrow would bring. The next morning, Jack met his classmates at the shuttle bay. Everyone carried sophisticated equipment. Some had devices that looked like small silver boxes with blinking lights. Others had what appeared to be clear tablets that showed colorful patterns. Jack had his backpack with his grandfather's dowsing rods tucked safely inside. The trip to Proxima Three's moon took about 3 hours. Jack spent most of that time looking out the window at the stars. Space was both beautiful and terrifying. The e-ice, vastness of it made him feel tiny and insignificant. "Are you nervous?" Zexler asked, sitting down next to him. "A little," Jack admitted. "What if the rods don't work here? The gravity is different. The ground composition is different." "What if they do work?" Zexler replied. "That would be much more interesting." The shuttle landed on a flat gray plain. The moon had no atmosphere, so everyone had to wear sealed suits. Jack's suit was heavier than the others, designed for humans who were used to Earth's stronger gravity. It felt comfortable to him, though the aliens seemed to find their lighter suits awkward and restrictive. Dr. Vailtep glided out of the shuttle last, her crystalline form now encased in a special container rather than a fabric suit. "Welcome to Proxima Three's largest moon." Her voice came through the communication system in Jack's helmet. "This moon is known for its complex water system. Ice and liquid water exist beneath the surface in a network of caverns. Your task today is to locate these water sources." She divided the class into small groups. Each would survey a different area using their various detection devices. Jack was assigned to work with Zexler and 2 other students, Nira, a small furry being from a jungle world, and Kelp, a tall, thin alien with purple skin who spoke very little. Their assigned area was about 1/2 kilometer from the shuttle. They walked slowly in the low gravity, careful not to bounce too high with each step. The landscape was barren and gray, with small craters and rocky outcroppings. Once they reached their location, everyone began setting up their equipment. Nira had a quantum resonance scanner, one of the most advanced water detection devices in the galaxy. Kelp had something called a gravity fluctuation meter. Zexler was using a thermal imaging system that could detect the slight temperature differences caused by water beneath the surface. Jack took out his dowsing rods. The others watched curiously as he held them in the proper position, the long ends pointing forward. "These won't work," Nira said, her fur rippling in what Jack had learned was a sign of amusement. "There's no magic in space." "It's not magic," Jack said for what felt like the 100th time. "It's just a different kind of detection method." He began to walk slowly across the gray surface, his boots making soft puffs of moon dust with each step. At first, nothing happened. The rods remained pointing straight ahead. Jack felt his heart sink. Maybe they really wouldn't work here. Then he felt it, the familiar pull in his hands. The rods began to move, gently at first, then with more purpose. They crossed in front of him, making an X. "There's water here," he said into his helmet microphone. "About 20 meters down, I think." The others gathered around him, looking skeptical. "My scanner shows nothing but solid rock," Nira said, holding up her device. The screen displayed various colored layers, but no sign of water. "Same with my gravity readings," Kelp added. "No water density variations." "Let's mark it anyway," Zexler suggested. "We can check all our findings when the drilling team arrives." They placed a small beacon at the spot and continued their survey. Over the next hour, Jack's rods indicated water in 6 more locations. Each time, the others' equipment showed nothing but rock and mineral deposits. "This is becoming ridiculous," Nira said after the 6th marker. "Either all our equipment is malfunctioning or these primitive sticks are giving false readings." Just then, Dr. Vailtep's voice came through their communication systems. "Attention, students. The drilling team has arrived. We will now verify your findings. Please return to your first marker and await the team." They made their way back to where Jack had first detected water. A large vehicle had arrived, equipped with a drilling apparatus. Dr. Valtep was there, along with several technicians. Group 4, she said, acknowledging their arrival. Your first detection point? Nira stepped forward. We have conflicting readings, Professor. Our equipment shows no water at this location, but the humans' dowsing rods indicated water approximately 20 meters down. Dr. Valtep's crystal form shifted slightly, which Jack had learned was her way of showing interest. Very well. Let us test both predictions. Drilling team, proceed. The drill began to bore into the moon's surface. Everyone watched the monitor that showed the drill's progress. 10 meters down, nothing but rock. 15 meters, still nothing. At 18 meters, the drill suddenly broke through into a cavity. The monitor showed a large space filled with ice and liquid water. There was silence in the group. Jack could hardly believe it himself. It seems, Dr. Valtep said slowly, that we have an unexpected result. Let us check your next marker. They moved to the second spot where Jack's rods had crossed. Again, the sophisticated alien equipment detected nothing. Again, the drill found water, this time at 23 meters deep. By the time they had checked, the fourth marker with the same result, the news had spread to the other groups. Students began gathering around to watch. Jack felt uncomfortable being the center of attention. How is this possible? One student asked. How can two bent metal rods find what our best technology cannot? Dr. Valtep turned to face Jack. Even through her containment unit, he could sense her intense focus. Human student, she said, your primitive method has outperformed our advanced technology. This is unprecedented. The water deposits you located appear to be shielded by an unusual mineral formation that blocks our scanning signals. Yet somehow, your rods detected them. I don't know how it works, Jack said honestly. I just know that it does. My grandfather could find water this way, and he taught me. Perhaps, Dr. Valtep said, there is more to this human tradition than we realized. This warrants further study. The final count was astonishing. Jack had correctly identified 17 water deposits across their survey area. The most advanced equipment in the galaxy had missed every single one, due to the interfering mineral deposits. On the shuttle ride back to the Orion Institute, Jack sat quietly, still processing what had happened. Students who had laughed at him the day before now kept glancing at him with new respect and curiosity. Zexler sat down next to him. You have become famous in one day, Jack. Everyone is talking about the human with the magic water sticks. They're not magic, Jack said automatically. Perhaps not, Zexler replied. But they are something our science cannot yet explain. And in the galaxy, that is a very interesting thing indeed. News traveled fast in the Orion Institute. By the time Jack returned to his room that evening, messages were waiting for him on his communication device. Some were from other students asking about his dowsing rods. Others were from professors, requesting to study his technique. 2 were from Galactic News Services wanting interviews. This is getting out of hand, Jack said to Zexler as they sat in the Institute's dining hall the next morning. The food synthesizer had finally produced something that tasted almost like scrambled eggs. You discovered something important, Zexler replied, eating a strange blue paste with 3 of his 6 hands. Of course everyone is interested. Jack looked around the dining hall. Other students kept glancing at him, then quickly looking away when he noticed. Some whispered to each other. He heard the phrase human water witch more than once. I don't understand why it's such a big deal, Jack said. Dowsing is an old technique on Earth. Lots of people can do it. But that's exactly why it's important, Zexler explained. If many humans can do this thing that our technology cannot match, what does that mean? Are humans detecting something our science doesn't understand? Do you have senses we do not? Before Jack could answer, his communication device buzzed. It was a message from Dr. Valtep, requesting his presence in the science lab immediately. The lab was a large room filled with strange equipment Jack didn't recognize. Dr. Valtep was there, along with several other alien scientists. Some wore the Institute's teaching uniforms. Others wore different clothing that marked them as visitors from other institutions. Ah, our human student has arrived, Dr. Valtep said. Her crystal form shimmered under the bright lab lights. "Thank you for coming, Jack Miller." Jack noticed she had used his name for the first time, not just calling him human student. "These are my colleagues from various scientific disciplines," she continued, introducing the others. There was Dr. Neve, a neurologist who studied brain functions across species. Dr. Lompat, a physicist specializing in quantum field theory. Dr. Harrix, an expert in evolutionary biology, and several others whose specialties Jack couldn't quite follow. "We would like to conduct some tests with your permission," Dr. Veltep said, "to understand how your dowsing ability works." For the next several hours, they put Jack through a series of experiments. They scanned his brain while he held the dowsing rods. They took the rods away and replaced them with identical ones made in the lab to see if he could still detect water. They hid containers of water around the lab and asked him to find them. They tested his sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, to temperature variations, to tiny vibrations. Jack did his best to cooperate, but by midday he was exhausted. The rods worked sometimes and not others. He couldn't explain why. "Perhaps we are approaching this incorrectly," Dr. Neve said finally. The alien had 4 eyes that blinked at different times, which Jack found distracting. "We are testing this, as if it were a technological detection method, but it clearly is not." "What do you suggest?" Dr. Valtep asked. "Let us consider the human's evolutionary environment," Dr. Neve replied. "Earth is a water-rich world, yes? Perhaps humans evolved subtle sensitivities to underground water movements that our species never needed." They discussed various theories, while Jack sat quietly, drinking something that was supposed to be like water but tasted faintly of metal. Dr. Lompat, whose body seemed to be made of tightly coiled ropes, offered another idea. "What if the human is actually detecting quantum probability fields? The movements of the rods could be a manifestation of quantum interactions too subtle for our instruments." "That's absurd," another scientist objected. "If that were true, it would mean humans have evolved a form of quantum sensitivity that no other known species possesses. And yet," Dr. Valtep said, "we witnessed the proof yesterday. The human found 17 water deposits that our best technology could not detect." The debate continued as word of Jack's ability spread beyond the Institute. By that evening, the story had reached the Galactic News Network. Reports began appearing on information screens throughout the station. "Human Deathworlder discovers water with primitive tools. Earth technology outperforms galactic science. Are humans more advanced than we thought?" 3 days later, Jack was called to meet with the Institute's High Council. This group of senior scientists and administrators rarely dealt with individual students. Jack felt nervous as he entered their chamber, a circular room with a domed ceiling that showed a real-time view of the stars outside. 7 council members sat at a curved table. They represented different species and academic disciplines. In the center was Administrator Fawn, a being with silvery skin and no visible eyes. "Jack Miller of Earth," Administrator Fawn said, "your discovery has caused quite a stir in the galactic community." Jack shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't discover anything. Dowsing has been used on Earth for centuries." "Which makes it all the more remarkable," another council member said. "Tell us, are there other such traditional practices on your world that produce unexplainable results?" Jack thought about it. "There are lots of traditional practices from different cultures. Some people believe in things like acupuncture or energy healing or predicting weather from animal behavior. Scientists at home often dismiss these things as unscientific. Just as our scientists dismissed your dowsing," Administrator Fawn observed. "Perhaps we have all been too quick to judge." The council explained that Jack's demonstration had caught the attention of the Galactic Security Council, the body that classified planets and species according to their technology level and potential threat. Earth is currently classified as a developing world with Deathworld characteristics, they told him. But some now argue that humans may possess abilities that warrant reclassification to strategic concern. "What does that mean?" Jack asked, worried. "It means there would be greater restrictions on human movement throughout the galaxy and more monitoring of Earth activities," Administrator Fawn said. Some fear that if humans have one undetected ability, you may have others. Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. His simple dowsing demonstration might lead to problems for all of humanity. But that's not fair, he protested. Dowsing isn't dangerous. It just finds water. In this case, yes, a council member agreed. But it demonstrates a sensitivity that our science cannot explain or duplicate. That makes some species nervous. What can I do? Jack asked. Administrator Fawn leaned forward. Continue to cooperate with our scientists. Help us understand how humans do what you do. Knowledge will replace fear, given time. As Jack left the council chamber, he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. What had started as a simple field trip had become something much bigger, something that could affect Earth's relationship with the entire galaxy. He touched the dowsing rods in his pocket. His grandfather's simple tools had started all this. Now Jack wondered if they might hold the key to something much more important than finding water. They might help find common ground between humans and the rest of the galaxy. 3 months after the field trip to Proxima Perfor's moon, Jack stood in a large hall on Centauri Prime, the political center of the Galactic Federation. The Grand Scientific Assembly was in session. Representatives from over 400 species had gathered to hear the findings of the special commission established to study what they now called the dowsing phenomenon. Jack wore a formal Earth suit, which felt stiff and uncomfortable. His parents and grandfather had arrived the previous day, brought to Centauri Prime at the Federation's expense. They sat in the front row, looking both proud and overwhelmed. His grandfather winked at him, which made Jack feel a bit better. "This is the biggest day of your life, and you look like you're going to be sick," said a familiar voice beside him. Jack turned to see Dr. Alara Nixon, a human scientist who had joined the research team 2 months ago. Dr. Nixon was an expert in xenophysics, the study of physical phenomena across different species. She had been the first to propose what was now known as the human quantum intuition theory. "I am going to be sick," Jack admitted. "All I did was find some water with my grandfather's dowsing rods. I never wanted all this attention." "Well, you've got it," Dr. Nixon said with a smile. "Might as well make the most of it." The hall fell silent as Administrator Fawn glided to the center of the stage, the silver-skinned being raised all 4 arms, a traditional gesture signaling the start of important proceedings. "Esteemed representatives of the galactic community," Administrator Fawn began, "we have gathered to hear the findings of the Special Commission on Human Sensory Abilities, specifically regarding the phenomenon known as dowsing. I call Dr. Valtep to present the Commission's report." Dr. Valtep's crystal form caught the light as she moved to the center. Jack still found it hard to read her expressions, but her voice sounded different somehow, more respectful. 3 standard months ago," she began, "a human student used simple metal rods to locate underground water on Proxima Perfor's moon with perfect accuracy, outperforming our most sophisticated detection equipment. This unexpected event led us to form this commission to study how such a thing was possible." She proceeded to describe the extensive testing they had conducted, not just on Jack but on 50 other human volunteers who had been brought to the Institute. Some could douse as well as Jack. Others showed some ability but less accuracy. A few showed no ability at all. "Our first hypothesis was that this might be a random phenomenon, simply luck," Dr. Valtep continued. "This has been conclusively disproven through repeated trials across different environments." The audience murmured with interest. Jack saw some representatives leaning forward in their seats. "Our second hypothesis was that humans might possess a heightened sensitivity to electromagnetic fields generated by moving water. While humans do show slightly better electromagnetic detection than previously documented, this alone cannot explain the dowsing phenomenon, particularly in cases where water was shielded by minerals that block such fields." On a large screen behind Dr. Valtep, images appeared showing brain scans of humans while dowsing. Certain areas were highlighted in bright colors. "Dr. Nixon, would you please explain your team's findings?" Dr. Valtep said, stepping aside. Dr. Nixon walked to the center of the stage, nodding at Jack as she passed him. "Thank you, Dr. Valtep," she said, After extensive study of human brain activity during dowsing, we have identified a previously unknown neural pathway that appears to be present in all humans to varying degrees. She pointed to the highlighted areas on the brain scans. This pathway activates when humans report intuitive feelings, or what they often call hunches. In dowsers, this pathway shows significantly higher activity when water is present but hidden from view. The screen changed to show a complex diagram of energy patterns. What humans have been calling intuition throughout their history appears to be a rudimentary form of quantum field sensitivity. In simple terms, humans can unconsciously detect probability patterns at the quantum level, patterns that are too subtle for our current technology to measure directly. There was a surprised silence followed by a wave of shocked whispers across the hall. "Are you suggesting," asked a representative from a gas giant world, "that humans possess a natural ability to sense quantum fields? That is unsettling." "Not unsettling," Dr. Nixon corrected. "Fascinating and perhaps valuable. The human brain evolved on a planet with high gravity, extreme weather, and dangerous predators. In such an environment, any ability to predict events before they happen, even slightly, would provide a survival advantage." Jack listened with growing amazement. Could this really be true? Were all the hunches, gut feelings, and intuitions that humans experienced actually a form of quantum sensing? It seemed impossible, yet the evidence was there on the screen. Administrator Fawn stepped forward again. "This discovery has significant implications for the status of humans in the galactic community. The Galactic Security Council has been deliberating on whether to reclassify Earth as a strategic concern due to this previously unknown ability." Jack's heart sank. This was exactly what he had feared. "However," Administrator Fawn continued, "after careful consideration, the Council has decided on a different approach. Instead of restriction, we propose cooperation. The human ability to sense quantum patterns could complement our technology in ways we have not yet imagined." Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. Beside him, Dr. Nixon smiled. "Therefore," Administrator Fawn announced, "the Council recommends a significant expansion of the human exchange program. We will welcome more humans to our institutions and establish new research partnerships focused on developing this unique human ability." There was applause from many of the representatives. Some remained silent, but none openly objected. After the session ended, Jack's family rushed to congratulate him. His grandfather hugged him tightly. "I always knew these old rods were special," the old man said, "but I never imagined they'd change our place in the galaxy." "I still can't believe it," Jack replied. "All those times people called dowsing nonsense or superstition. Sometimes the oldest knowledge contains truths we don't yet understand," his grandfather said. "The aliens had to learn that lesson too, it seems." 6 months later, Jack returned to the Orion Institute not as a student but as a teaching assistant. His course, Traditional Human Intuitive Sciences, had a waiting list of over 300 alien students eager to learn about dowsing and other human practices that might tap into quantum intuition. The classroom was filled beyond capacity on the first day. Jack stood at the front, feeling nervous but excited. He held up his grandfather's dowsing rods, polished and worn from years of use. "Sometimes the simplest tools can reveal the most profound truths," he began, repeating the words he had practiced. "Today we'll start by learning how to hold the rods correctly." As he looked at the many alien faces watching him with interest and respect, Jack thought about how far he had come from that Montana farm. His grandfather's simple dowsing rods had changed not just his life, but humanity's place in the galaxy. And this was just the beginning. Who knew what other human abilities might someday astonish the stars?